Some exercises out there are just built from the ground up to make you freaking huge. The deadlift, the bench press, the squat, the overhead press, pull-ups. And some are built to keep you small. And that's what we're talking about today. The list of amazing muscle building exercises literally goes on and on and on. So that begs the question, why the hell do so many people waste so much time doing these shitty little movements that barely move the needle? Well, I think the answer comes down to a few things. The first one being shiny object syndrome. The basic and effective movements, everybody's seen, everybody's known them. These people want the new flashy thing that they've seen on Instagram, so they gravitate to that and they ditch what actually works. Another is the fear of heavy weights. These movements, the big compounds that move the needle, also tend to require a lot of weight. Heavy leg pressing, heavy bench pressing, heavy deadlifting. If you can go on a cable and do this weird bullshit thing for the triceps using 5 kilos, it's a lot less scary. The third one is a fear of fatigue. The huge social media misconception of the whole idea of stimulus to fatigue ratio is made people literally scared of exercises that make you tired. Think about it. Exercises that make you tired. Exercise is supposed to make you tired. Stimulus to fatigue is about getting high stimulus relative to the fatigue. It's not about eliminating fatigue at all costs. So stop being silly. And lastly, I think it's trying to be optimal. Coach Kassem is great for the 1%, but you know, you're probably not the 1%. So let's look at the first exercise, but first hit the top link in my description to go to Progressive Physique Coaching, my online coaching company. You can also contact me directly on email, ashmaypt@gmail.com, for any questions you might have. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Now let's look at the first exercise. First is the single arm cable lat pull down. And to be honest, this is a good exercise. This is an exercise I do. It's in my program right now, but it is not a staple exercise. It should not be your main exercise. This is not the movement that's going to be adding slabs of muscle to your lats, I promise you. The reason I'm adding this first in the list is that it's really frustrating me how many people I'm seeing going straight into the gym and their first primary movement they're doing that gets all of their attention and focus is a bloody single arm cable lat pull down. What's even sadder is they truly think they are doing something good and positive for their physique, and they're just not. The single arm cable lat pull down is basically an isolation movement for your lats. It is a great exercise to be the cherry on the top of the cake, but doing this exercise as a main lift is like putting your cake on top of the cherry. Shit's backwards. Instead, you want to focus and prioritize your pull-ups, your pull-downs, your lat dominant rows, and then this can be later on in your program. You could also use it as a primer movement to engage the lats and feel my muscle connection, but generally speaking, it's not a main movement. Whilst on the topic of lats, the rocking lat pull down. What a fucking con. This is a very dangerous exercise in the sense that it is a complete trap. It tricks you into thinking it's giving you some crazy lat stimulus you've never had before. It does this in a few ways. The first is that it's using the lat pull down. This is a time-tested big back builder, so people know the lat pull down is good. This exercise is on the lat pull down, so this exercise must be good. No. Then, because you're rocking side to side, you get some rotation from your obliques. You get this crazy contraction, like uncomfortable, painful contraction you've never felt before. So it makes logical sense that that's doing something insane for your lats, but unfortunately it's not. It's basically doing the same thing as doing a big bicep pose and really squeezing into that muscle. Right now, I can feel my bicep like mad. Is it growing? No. That's basically what you're doing with a rocking lat pull down. You're using so little weight and you're holding half of the weight you're using in the other hand that you're barely doing anything to the muscle. You're just squeezing the shit out of it, and that doesn't make it grow. Stretch under heavy load. That eccentric tension is what builds a muscle. This ain't building shit. This exercise completely bastardized the lat pull down, and it really annoys me, as you can probably tell. Again, you can make an argument for doing this as a warm-up and to build my muscle connection, but it is not an exercise that is going to build your lats. Speaking of exercises which were introduced to the fitness industry by a certain somebody, exercises that are crap and that will keep you small forever, not naming names, are waiter curls. These are terrible, and I see them all the goddamn time, And it's never by somebody big. Why? Well, again, they are doing that thing where they trick you into thinking they're a good exercise. It gives you a big squeeze in the muscle, but the way that it achieves that squeeze is by removing all the parts of a bicep curl that actually build a lot of muscle. That ripping, lengthening under tension, the heavy load, the eccentric control of the bicep. It takes away all of that. Heavy is gone because you are literally limited by how much your wrists bent backwards can hold. The fully centric you can also kiss goodbye because you can't get a fully centric. The bloody dumbbell gets in the way. When you're holding a dumbbell like that, especially as you get into heavier dumbbells, which are bigger, you get to about here, then you touch your stomach. You can't go any lower. It's ridiculous. Not only that, but it forces your elbows to be tucked in at this weird ass angle that if you're a bigger, wider person, it's never going to feel natural. Basically, it just does everything worse than a traditional curl or an incline curl or a preacher curl or pretty much any other type of curl. So please, if you're doing weighted curls regularly in your program, just stop it and do barbell curls or preacher curls instead, because it will grow you better, I promise. Number 4 is dumbbell kickbacks. These are shit. They come with all the issues of the previous 2 exercises. Again, they trick you into thinking it's a good exercise by a huge contraction on the muscle, but unfortunately that doesn't really mean anything. Like we said, the squeeze, the contraction of a muscle does very little for hypertrophy, but it's actually even worse in the case of dumbbell kickbacks. With these, gravity literally forces you to do a very partial range of motion, and gravity literally makes the hardest part of this exercise where you are mechanically weakest. It makes no sense. You want a full range of motion and you want to match your natural mechanical strength curve as well as possible. This does the opposite of those 2 things. So you're forced to use a super light weight because of the strength curve. You are forced to use this partial range of motion. You are forced to not get a loaded stretch on the muscle, and you're bending over on a bench with your arse up in the air. That's embarrassing, to be honest. Kickbacks using a long rope on a cable attachment or something like that can actually be pretty decent, but dumbbell kickbacks are trash and they are keeping you small, so stop doing them. Number 5 is another one for the triceps, and that is bench dips. Let me ask you something. Have you ever seen somebody big doing bench dips, apart from John Meadows? No. There's a reason for that, and that reason is they're not going to build your triceps. The range of motion on these is limited by the floor, by the weird positioning of your shoulder, and just general anatomy issues. And the limiting factor on these is usually elbow, shoulder, and wrist pain, not the triceps, so that is not ideal. And again, they get a solid contraction of the triceps, but that's about it. The only time you might see people with actual muscle doing these is on Instagram, where they do them to load up like 5 20-kilogram plates on their stomach, and they show off that they can do dips with that weight. But I guarantee you, they didn't gain that strength and that muscle doing this exercise. It is purely to show off for Instagram. I guarantee you. The way they built those triceps are with JM presses, skull crushers, parallel bar dips, close grip bench press, the things that are actually going to build your triceps and get you strong, not shit like bench dips. If you're relying on bench tips to get your triceps big, then I'm afraid they're going to stay small. And the last movement out of our 6 that are keeping you small is the Dumbbell Hex Press. And my God, I hate this exercise. Let's look at the problems with it. The dumbbells limit your range of motion because they are like this big and you get to here and it hits your chest. You can hardly get a stretch on your chest before the dumbbells literally hit your body. They physically stop you getting a good range of motion. The majority of your force, energy, and focus during the set is going to go to keeping the dumbbells pushed together. That's not where you want your focus to be. You want it to be on the muscle and doing the work. You can legitimately get a bicep pump from doing this chest exercise. Think about if that makes sense. The scope for overloading this exercise is just absolutely tiny. The exercise is inherently dangerous. You've got heavy dumbbells pushed together at an awkward angle over your face, and you are trying to fatigue yourself. Think it through. If one slips, you're not just small anymore. Now you're small and ugly. And if there's one thing worse than being small, it's being small and ugly. Trust me, I know. That's 4 problems with the hex press. Do you want more? Okay then, let's do it. By default, your elbows tuck in as you try and push the dumbbells in. That tucked elbow position is going to emphasize shoulder flexion and tricep extension, so you're going to be building your shoulders and triceps way more than your chest. But even then, it is shit for building those muscles. You can't even call this a good squeeze exercise because the size of the dumbbells limits how much shoulder adduction you can get, so you can't even get a full contraction on the chest. Honestly, I could go on and on, but basically you are absolutely wasting your time with a hex press. You could be doing so many other movements. Just do some bloody push-ups and you'll build a better chest than doing the dumbbell hex press. These 6 movements are keeping you small if you are doing them, relying on them to build muscle. Some of them can be good in certain situations or as a cherry on top of the cake, but as a main lift, as a way to build muscle, you're going to stay small. There are way more than 6, and I am considering doing a follow-up video on this, highlighting some of the others, but for now, these are the first 6 that came to mind. If you have any others that you are thinking of, drop in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on exercises that are built to keep your ass small. Email me, ashmaypt@gmail.com for more information on my online coaching, or you can hit the top link in the description to go to progressivephysiquecoaching.co.uk, my online coaching company. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you as always for watching. Give the video a thumbs up. Until next one, see you later guys.